Good evening, everyone. To our honored guests, ladies and gentlemen, if you would, turn your attention to the right-hand side of the stage, the staircase. Here come our new SaskTel Plaza of Honor inductees.
Woo! Bring them out, 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 bring them.
That song is always appropriate. Representing Gabe Patterson, past Plaza of Honor inductee, Wes Cates. SaskTel Plaza of Honor builder, Paul J. Hill. '2006 first-round draft pick, Andy Fantuz. And last, definitely not least, 2007 fifth-round draft pick, 10-year rider, Chris Getzlaff. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for your 2021 SaskTel Plaza of Honor inductees. These four terrific gentlemen will be standing here all evening so we can admire their respective handsomeness. Look at this crew. Beautiful. Gentlemen, you can take your seats. We look forward to your speeches coming a little later. Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. It is great to have you here, and it is great to be back at the stadium tonight, as last year was the first time in 34 years that the Plaza of Honor did not take place. I would like to acknowledge that our celebration this evening is located on Treaty 4 territory, the ancestral lands of the Cree, Saulteaux, Dakota, and Lakota nations, and the homeland of the Métis. In alignment with the current public health orders, masks are mandatory for everyone here today when you're not seated at your table. Of course, if you're coming up to speak, as I am now, you feel free to take your mask off. That's no problem. And we would like to encourage everyone to try and maintain 2 yards of distance, social distancing at its finest. It'll soon be over, but it's still with us for now. Your cooperation is greatly appreciated as we try to keep everybody safe this evening. The SaskTel Plaza of Honor Gala is presented by AGT, the premier event of the Saskatchewan Roughrider Foundation. The foundation was created by the Saskatchewan Roughrider Football Club to enhance and further the Roughriders' community efforts across our great province. The foundation's mission is to empower youth and communities through the passion of Rider Nation, teaching them skills like leadership, resilience, and responsibility. We're going to have to take a break now for dinner. We'll have some terrific speeches. We'll hear from our four inductees a little later on. I know you're going to enjoy the fantastic meal that we have for you tonight, and our program will continue in just a little while. Thanks so much, and enjoy your dinner. I hope you enjoyed your dinner. We have a fantastic program coming for you, including our four new inductees into the Plaza of Honor. Before we kick off our big festivities for the evening, though, I want to take a special moment to acknowledge and welcome CFL Commissioner Randy Ambrosie with us tonight. Commissioner Ambrosie. If this was the NFL or the NHL, that would have been a long round of boos, but our commissioner is dishing out free hugs at the end of the night. The CFL, we're just different. So very thankful that you are here. We're pleased that our title sponsor, SaskTel, is back for another year. And new this year, our presenting partner is AGT Foods, with President Murad Al-Khatib and his wife, Michelle, as our 2021 SaskTel Plaza of Honor event co-chairs. Murad's mother passed away last night, and somehow you and Michelle are still here. I think that's just a real testament to the strength that you two have and the support that you must have around you. Very much appreciate you being with us on a day like this. And I want to send a special thank you to our hardworking Plaza of Honor organizing committee. Without them, this event absolutely would not have happened. Sarah, Allison, Lisa, Jillian, Marnie, John, Cindy, Kelly, and Scott, thank you so much for tonight. It is now my pleasure to introduce you to the president and CEO of AGT Foods, Murad Al-Khatib, and his wife, Michelle, to bring you some words from our presenting sponsors, AGT Foods.
My lovely wife, Michelle, just looked at me like I didn't tell her that she had to say anything, so she's not gonna. Welcome. I think that's the first thing I wanted to say. I just, I actually, many of you saw that I walked in late today, and, Derek did let everybody know that, as a family, we had a pretty tough day, and my mom passed last night, and as I was sitting around today, I called Cindy yesterday and I said, Cindy, I'm obviously not going to be able to come to the plaza, and I'm really sorry I'm not going to be able to make it. And as we went through the day today, I realized that there was a few things that were really important to me and to our family. And when I think about, my mother, just to tell you a few words about her, I wrote for those who follow me on Facebook. My mother was quite an extraordinary woman, and she actually represented a lot of things that we're actually here today to celebrate. So my mother immigrated to Canada, so I'm a first-generation Canadian, and as a young bride, she learned to speak English watching Sesame Street with us kids. And in 1976, she was the first immigrant Muslim woman elected to a rural municipal council in Canada. And so she served 27 years in rural municipal politics as a town councillor, mayor of Davidson, reeve of the RM, councillor in the RM. And when I think of that, you think of 1976, a woman and an immigrant Muslim woman elected 9 times in 9 elections, 9 times contested. And, the reason that that's important today is because as a young man, I was raised to realize that my community was the most important thing that we lived for, and that our community of Davidson and central Saskatchewan and the farming community, all the things that many of you have seen me exhibit as passion in the work that I've done to build AGT, and we celebrated our 20-year anniversary in July this year, from the startup from my basement to a couple of $2 billion, and all of you supporting us along the way. And I realized that, the things that my mother instilled in me is the reason why when Cindy asked me and Michelle to get involved with the foundation and to get involved in recasting the Plaza of Honor Gala, to actually bring to this event what it has meant to many, many people involved in this organization and involved in the culture, that our football club and others have kind of embodied for many, many years. It's a celebration today of dedication, resiliency, leadership, and community. And those are the pillars of the foundation. And so why, when Craig asked Cindy to move in and chair the foundation and to head up that organization, we decided to get involved. Because those are the qualities that my father, as a 55-year full-time rural physician, and my mother, as a rural community leader, instilled in us. And it's the things that we're going to celebrate today that Paul brought to our province and to this organization, and that all of the inductees brought to our culture and to the football club and to our, the fabric of Saskatchewan. So you think of the things that we're here today celebrating. We're celebrating, the symbols that unite all of us as Saskatchewan proud residents. And, that's why, I was, in our culture, we actually, bury very quickly. We have to do within 24 hours. And so my mom passed last night. We were able to bury her this afternoon at 2, and I was a little bit late, but I felt I had to be here. So I want to thank all of you, because I tap you on the shoulder a lot. But the good news is I always tap myself and also put my money into these things too. So I want to thank all of you. And I want you to realize that what we decided here to do today is, we're here raising money for something that we think is very, very important. Mental health in schools, right? We've been involved in the past in different initiatives in this province, bringing, the ability to take role models and leaders and actually bring content to schools. And, we think that that's something that's going to be very important. In a post-COVID environment, kids are struggling today. And then, that's why I tapped each one of you on the shoulder. I didn't ask you to help the football club. They'll ask you to do that separately. But the foundation's work, in my mind, can transform communities, and we can do it all together. So I want to thank you very much for coming tonight. I hope you enjoy. We had a good meal, so I really want to thank the staff here. And, we've made, this lounge, the AGT Lounge, something where we come and we celebrate all together on game day, and we build communities together. So I just want to thank everybody for attending.
Now it's my pleasure to introduce Keith Janot, who is the Acting Vice President, Consumer Sales and Solutions, and President and CEO of Direct West, to bring you some words from our title sponsor, SaskTel.
Well, good evening, everyone, and glad to be here with you tonight. And I think with all the good speeches we're going to have coming forward, it'll be tough to follow that one because of all the heartfelt emotions that everyone's been going through in the Khatib family. So condolences to you. Before going any further, I'd like to take a moment to respectfully acknowledge the land in which we gather as Treaty 4 territory, the traditional territory of the Cree peoples, and homeland of the Métis Nation. As Saskatchewan and Canada mourns those who recently discovered in unmarked graves near former residential school sites, it's important that we recognize the realities of our shared history so that we may move forward together in this spirit, and we pay our respect to the First Nations and Métis ancestors of our province and recognize their culture and tremendous contributions to Saskatchewan and our country. The SaskTel Plaza of Honor is a major fundraising event for the Saskatchewan Roughrider Foundation, benefiting many causes to enhance our community and support our youth through education, health, and amateur sport. Like SaskTel, the Saskatchewan Roughrider Foundation recognizes that our youth are our future leaders of this province. We believe that every young person deserves the opportunity to reach their full potential, and that's why SaskTel is a proud sponsor of the Plaza of Honor. I want to thank everyone in attendance today. Without you or an incredible support, the Foundation's mission to empower youth and the communities wouldn't be possible. Before we move on, I'd also like to take a moment to thank the organizers, the volunteers, and especially our event chairs, as just mentioned, Murad and Michelle Al-Khatib. Your work has made today's event a great success, and your efforts certainly not gone unnoticed, and in particular under these trying circumstances. Tonight's inductees have gracefully shown what it takes to earn a spot in the SaskTel Plaza of Honor. Through hard work, passion, and dedication, each of them have built impressive careers that have made a lasting impact on Rider Nation. It's truly special to be here and welcome the 4 latest inductees of the Plaza of Honor of 2021. Tonight's inductees, of course, include Andy Fantuz and Chris Getzlaff, which are great fan favorites. But additionally, the Riders' first of African-American star, Gabe Patterson, will be inducted posthumously. And Paul J. Hill, of course, who spent more than 22 years on the club's board and management council, will be inducted as a builder. On behalf of SaskTel, I extend my sincere congratulations to all inductees. Thank you all, and please enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you so much, Keith. It is time now to kick off the induction portion of the night. The Plaza of Honor started in 1987, and since then it has inducted 131 individuals and 3 teams who have all made major contributions to the very proud tradition of the Saskatchewan Roughrider Football Club. Tonight we'll induct 4 more Roughrider greats into the Plaza, 3 in the player category and 1 in the builder category. As mentioned, Gabe Patterson goes in posthumously. He's considered the first Roughriders Black All-Star and just the second Black player to ever have played for the club. In the builder category, Paul J. Hill being inducted to the Plaza of Honor. It says here, in addition to being my boss, but I believe Paul is my boss's boss. Paul, is that right? He is the owner of 620 CKRM Rider Radio. He's the chairman, president, and CEO of the Hill Companies, who have been major supporters of the Saskatchewan Roughriders for over 55 years. The remaining two inductees, their careers overlapped, and they both won the 2007 Grey Cup championship. Both of them have had the honor of being named Most Outstanding Canadian in a Grey Cup game that was either played in or very close to their hometowns. Andy Fantuz, 2006 first-round draft pick of the Roughriders, who went on to play 6 seasons in the green and white, 3 Grey Cup appearances, and a 2007 Grey Cup champion. Chris Getzlaff, a 5th-round draft pick of the Ticats, who got traded to his hometown team in a deal I think we're all very thankful for, played 10 seasons, got into 4 Grey Cups, and earned 2 of those coveted Grey Cup rings. Through their talents and contributions, both on and off the field, each has forged their own niche in the history of the Saskatchewan Roughrider Football Club. Each inductee is going to get a beautiful gold commemorative ring tonight, and their name will be added to the impressive list. As I mentioned, 131 names and 3 teams in the previous Plaza of Honor inductees. I present to you now the class of 2021. First up, a man who was the second black player to ever play for the Riders and the first black player to be named a CFL All-Star. Please direct your attention to the following video on Gabe Patterson.
Gabe Patterson is the Roughriders' first black star. There was a black player who preceded him with the Roughriders. It was the Regina Roughriders back then. Robert Ellis Stonewall Jackson played for the team in 1930. It was just a 1-year deal, but Gabe Patterson joined the Riders in 1947 and quickly made an impact in every way. People, fans, media were just raving about him instantly for the way he could electrify the team and take charge of a football game in so many ways. He played for the Roughriders in 1947, 1948. It's still a mystery why he didn't return to the Roughriders in 1949. There's so many theories about them, none of which have been really established as the definitive word, but what is for sure is that in 1947 he was an all-star with the Roughriders, repeated as an all-star in 1948. The complicated thing is, in what category do you regard him as an all-star? Because he did virtually everything to a degree that I'm not sure anybody's duplicated since. Ran with the football, he caught the football, he place-kicked the football, he played defensive back, he played quarterback. He did everything, and everything at an exceptional level, while endearing himself to the community and just being exciting about it. There's even looking back on Leader Post stories from 47 and 48, not only are his exploits on the football field celebrated, but just some of the things that he did in the community, meeting with fans and getting involved in the community and visiting the YMCA, things like that. He just, in the 2 years that he was here, he really immersed himself in all things Roughriders, in all things Regina, and then was never seen again in these parts again after 1948. It's kind of unfortunate because you wonder what he would have accomplished had he played here longer. I'm glad that all these years later, he's being recognized by the Plaza of Honor because I think he's one of those guys who's really been overlooked. And there's also historical significance to what he did here, not only in terms of being the first black star on the Roughriders, but just the many facets of the game that in which he was able to excel. He made his debut with the Roughriders in September of 1947. If you go back to newspaper articles from the time, it's like automatically, it's like Gabe Patterson can blow apart a game. In his first season with the Roughriders, he had long gains as a running back, as a receiver, on a kickoff return. He had that capacity in virtually any game that he played. He can go the distance anytime. And I think that's right from the start. If you look back on his early games with the Roughriders, it was like, here's Gabe Patterson from Pittsburgh, and look what he can do. I think it was a kickoff return very early in his time with the Roughriders that really established quickly among the reporters covering the game and among the fans who attended that this is someone with a lot of ability to influence a game. And if you look at 1947, he led the Roughriders in scoring because he was a good kicker and would also score touchdowns. He also was tied for the team lead in interceptions. In the 2 years that he was with the Roughriders, he was tied for the team lead in interceptions in addition to excelling on offense. Just a tremendous all-around player to a degree I don't think has been matched since. There have been versatile members of the Roughriders here and there. Al Ford was known as Mr. Versatility during his career, but Gabe Patterson played quarterback in addition to playing defensive back, in addition to playing receiver, in addition to playing running back. He could just do anything. And you found we've had defensive backs who have been receivers, and we've had running backs who've been, played other positions. And you had the two-way all-stars in the 1950s, where there's Bobby Marlowe playing linebacker and fullback, or Martin Ruby in the same season being an all-star on the offensive line and the defensive line. But when you factor in quarterback, receiver, able to run the ball, defensive back, and kicking, I can't think of any precedents for that, other than the precedents that are set by Gabe Patterson. And it's amazing to do what he did. It's a shame that it didn't last longer, but to recognize him now and to look back on what he did, I think it's a nice milestone in team history. It's very appropriate that he's being inducted. And I hope, even though 70 plus years have elapsed, people can look at that and say there's a pioneer in Canadian football. There's a pioneer in Rough Rider football. And in the 1940s, you started to see a few more black players enter Canadian football. Sugarfoot Anderson with Calgary, Woody Strode. There were a few. With the Rough Riders, there was Gabe Patterson. And then for the longest time, there weren't any black players again, and certainly no black stars. We started to see some again emerge into later in the 1950s with Cookie Gilchrist and Mike Hagler. Jim Marshall, who went on to star in the National Football League with the Minnesota Vikings, played for the Rough Riders in 8 games in 1959. He was one of the Rough Riders' first black players, and ended up enjoying a lengthy career in the National Football League. But as far as black players who really left a mark and really captivated the fans, the first would have been Gabe Patterson. I think he would have at least blazed a trail to a degree. It still took a while. I think it still took a while for society. It still took a while for Canadian Football League teams, etc., to really wrap their heads around that idea. You look at the composition of rosters for the longest time, and black players were in the minority. Even in 1966, when the Rough Riders won their first Grey Cup, there were only 3 black players on the team: George Reed, Ed McQuarters, Ed Buchanan. Then as you got later into the 60s, I think that's when you really started to see it changing, into the 60s and 70s. And then by 1972, you had Chuck Ely, a black quarterback, playing, which was a big deal for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And Warren Moon, who really had been looked down upon by NFL teams as far as the likelihood of him playing quarterback, established himself as a premier quarterback in the Canadian Football League. And suddenly there was an openness in the National Football League for a black quarterback that really hadn't been there. So I think you saw it incrementally, and Gabe Patterson was a step along the way. It's not like after Gabe Patterson there was a succession of black players that there were more of them. They tended to be the exceptions for another probably 20 years after he left Regina. But there was that imprint that he left, and the accomplishments for which he's now being noted, and I think that is significant, and it's unfortunate that it took so long, and it's unfortunate that there were so few. But I think this is a time to celebrate one of the true pioneers, and really look at Gabe Patterson for what he, as an individual, accomplished, and reflect upon his historical significance along the way.
Accepting on behalf of Gabe Patterson, who is a posthumous inductee into the SaskTel Plaza of Honor, is former running back and 2017 Plaza of Honor inductee, Wes Cates.
That was an impressive video. Well, I guess just to say some thanks to the organizing committee and everybody for being here and contributing to this event. This is really seems like one of the most meaningful Plaza of Honors I've ever been a part of, so thanks for that. I'd like to thank Craig Reynolds and the Rider organization for even considering me and giving me the opportunity to accept this Plaza of Honor induction on behalf of Gabe. Being an inductee myself in 2017, was an amazing honor. And being able to be up here today and pay homage to a true pioneer of the CFL game is is really just adds to the level of pride that I have being a part of this Hall of Fame. At a time when most black men in history really were in a position that they weren't given many opportunities to do much, Galloping Gabe, he seemed to do it all. While playing Negro League, Major League Baseball against some of the greatest athletes in the world, Gabe found the courage and energy to help break the color barrier, playing multiple positions as an all-star in the CFL for the Rough Riders. He's clearly a great man and a great athlete. Gabe playing in high school and in college in Pennsylvania and Pittsburgh really took me back to my college days, because I played in Cal, PA, which was just an hour south of Pittsburgh. And, it just made me think of my buddies and the guys I played with in the Burg, as we have affectionately called it. And growing up in that steel town like my buddies did, I think it made Gabe a tough, hard-nosed workaholic who's always down to party. My buddies always had a good time. And definitely thought he was a comedian, always had jokes. I'd imagine if Gabe had the opportunity to speak for himself, that he'd thank a lot of people. He'd thank the people that helped him persevere despite many of the tribulations that society had to offer. If he was a religious man, I think he would thank his God for keeping him and protecting him and keeping him safe from harm during those tough times. He'd thank his wife and his 3 daughters for their love, support, and motivation, and tell them how much he loved them. He thanked the CFL, maybe not the Montreal Alouettes, because they released him before he came over to the Rough Riders, but he thanked the Regina Rough Riders and the CFL for the opportunity to help integrate CFL football and to make an impact on the color barrier. Excuse me. He definitely would like to thank his Rider teammates that were accepting of him as a teammate, and the organization for making him a part of their football family. I'm sure it's safe to say that he wasn't the free agent that fit right in immediately, but he earned his respect by being a man of integrity who didn't take any crap, pushed through the adversity, and proved he belonged by his play on the field. I hope that Gabe can look down on this night and be proud of the progress that he helped create. We should all be thankful for the sacrifices that Gabe Patterson made for his contributions to the advancement of equality and inclusion in the CFL. We owe it to him and many others to stay committed to diversity and acceptance in sports and society. So as a token of appreciation and acknowledgement of that commitment from the Rough Rider organization, thank you, Gabe Patterson, and welcome to the Plaza of Honor.
Thank you very much, Wes. Our second inductee goes in the builder category, Paul J. Hill. Paul served on the Rough Riders Management Committee and Board of Directors for 22 years and contributed to numerous fundraising activities for the Rough Riders, a team he has loved for a long, long time. Our video on Paul J. Hill.
I think it's very important, not so much for Paul personally, but just to show what a tremendous contribution he's made. You know, he's on the board for 22 years. He's been to every Grey Cup since 1959.
He's important because he was there during the very lean years, the tough years, and I think if it weren't for Paul and a handful, a very small number of people like Paul, I don't know if the Riders would be here today. I don't know if we'd be sitting in this beautiful new stadium, because during the 80s and 90s, when times were really tough, you know, Paul was there as a board member, as a member of the management committee at that time, but also Harvard and the radio rights and all of that, and whenever something needed to be done with the stadium or with the club, he would be one of the first to step up with his time, but also with his resources, and so he's very important. He's one of the reasons we're here today.
So Paul had really a lot of impact for a long time. When he was on the board of directors, of course, that was the time when they built the new stadium. And he played a key role, along with other board members during that time, in getting the process approved and getting to the point where we built this beautiful mosaic stadium. And he is, in fact, one of the 10 founding members of the stadium. You know, and that's individuals and companies that have made a substantial investment into the stadium. So, Paul, his involvement with the Riders has been unquestionably important. Any fundraiser, Paul was always there if we needed him for advice and to purchase tickets or whatever it took for dinners he was at all the Grey Cups. And Paul did this not to get big publicity out of it, or, you know, to be known about it. He was quiet, unassuming, and I really like that about the fact that he did it for the right reason. He did it because he loved the Riders. He wanted to make sure that the Riders survive during our difficult times, and he was a part of helping that to achieve us that. And also, he was part of the good years as well, when we have the new stadium and the team did well and we financially did really well. So, you know, Paul really has to have a lot of credit for a lot of this good stuff that's gone on for the last 25 years that Paul was involved with directly with the Riders.
He's just contributed so much. Most people wouldn't know his contributions. He's the big picture guy and looking at all the things that can go right and wrong. His companies have been the broadcasters of the radio for, you know, decades and decades. And we used to have, when I was president, we had telethons and things like that. Excuse me. And his stations, and he'd throw all his on-air personalities to work the telethon for us. And I don't know where we would have been without the tremendous effort of Paul, plus lots of other people. But Paul's a different thinker, big picture, and he can see the big picture like he does in his own business, and that's been a great benefit to all the presidents that have come along, and everybody's always appreciated Paul and what he does, because he doesn't just come up with the big ideas when it's necessary. He'll make the big ideas work, and you know, he's got lots of staff and people that'll do it. But I don't think there's anybody else in the province that's contributed as much in a way to the club than Paul and all his companies. It's not just Paul, and he'll be the first one to tell you.
But it's nice to see us putting in a Paul Hill. Being a community-owned team and the kind of team we are, supported by our fans far and wide, I think it's important we recognize the volunteers, the board members, and those that really contributed behind the scenes. I think that's very important. Yes, the players, of course, are you know, front and center and should be, but I think people like Paul really deserve the recognition and really did it as a labor of love. And so this recognition, I think, is very important to them. And I know I did speak with Paul, and he said this is important to him as any of the many awards and recognitions that he's received in his life. So I think it's not just Paul you're recognizing the other members of the management committee, the board, the Plaza of Honor committee that has worked so hard over the years. So there's literally hundreds, maybe thousands of volunteers that have made sure this organization is the preeminent franchise in the CFL.
I can honestly say that to have him inducted as a builder, you couldn't get a better person to fit that role. And he is certainly well deserving of the honor. I congratulate Paul. I'm happy that he has now got the recognition and is in the Plaza of Honor forever as a very important builder.
congratulations, Paul. I know this is a very, very important honor to you, and it's a big weekend for you and your family, and I know you're going to enjoy it, and I look forward to hearing your speech.
He did it for the right reasons. He loves the Riders. Ladies and gentlemen, Paul J. Hill.
Well, I almost tripped on the way up here. I'm flabbergasted. When I got the call from John Lipp, I never expected this recognition, ever. Compared to the other inductees today, Chris and Andy that are here. By the way, I had a dream last night. You know, when I was in high school, I used to throw a ball. And I played all those positions that Patterson played too. Defense, offense, running back, flanker back, receiver, everything. I wasn't very good at any of them. In first year university, I had one play. It was a fake kick. I kicked to a kick and a pass. But I wasn't the regular kicker, so every time they sent me in there, of course, the other team knew exactly what was going to happen. Never worked. Always worked in the practices, though. But the dream last night I had is I came back, and these guys came back too. And I remember I was taking the ball from the snap, and I was going back to pass, and I had these incredible CFL receivers that were the best that we've ever produced in the CFL. And I threw that long pass down the middle, and they were both going for the ball. And no, they didn't clash and drop it. No, they both grabbed it and went over the end zone. And you saw the sprinkles of Jesus there. Fajardo's comments on that T-shirt I was wearing. So that's what happened. So in any case, I just want to say that I don't know how to describe this, but I think I was born somehow or other with it. We only lived a couple of blocks here from the stadium, and I was very adventuresome as a kid. Without telling my parents, I'd go and buy, you could get, if I saved up my money, I could get $1.20 worth of bus tickets for $1. And that was a hell of a deal. And they were 5 cents each, and I would just get on the bus and ride around. I was so curious about everything in town. And so when the Riders were playing, I'd walk across the tracks over here and walk in with the crowd. Of course, I was just a little guy. They just never asked for a ticket or anything. And I never sat in the stands anyway. I sat right on the field, right on the, that's what they used to let you be able to do that then. And so once in a while I'd get some friends to come, but quite often their mothers wouldn't let them. But I would sneak out and do it, and my parents didn't mind. So it was fantastic, and through the 50s, my father was a business partner and good friend of Bob Kramer, who I credit with really saving the Rough Riders during that time period, during much more critical times, or we had critical times since then too, but in any case, and with the new stadium expansion and other things that happened. But my parents used to go to Grey Cup every year, and that started with me in 1959. And of course, I carried on, and I've gone to every Grey Cup since, and started the tradition with our own family. And so our own family every year comes. Now we get a box, and we invite some other people, and it becomes an annual affair for everybody. So I want to thank, first of all, I want to honor the other two inductees who I think are very deserving. I want to thank my own family for attending here, Roseanne and Brad, Shannon, Matthew, January, and of course, I'll talk about Carol a little bit later. And my sister Marilyn, she's the youngest in our family of 5, and her husband Jack, they're from Indian Head, Wolseley, but they live in Kelowna now. And Marilyn is by far and away the smartest person in our family. We have a great relationship. We talk frequently, but she's got all the brains in the family, and I go to her when I need things done. So anyway, the riders, we learned, and all of you know this, but during the up and down years, we learned how to raise money. Fortunately, at that time, we owned the television station as well as radio, and so we were able to do telethons. Bruce Cowie was president of the Riders for a few years, so was Gord Stasis, also worked with me, and Dick Rendick. Tom Shepard, we were partners. Almost everybody that we worked with, as we're part of a community of people, but it seemed like we all had some kind of link together through business or through our interests. And so those fundraising things were absolutely critical. There's just no way the Riders would have survived without that. And then there were those days when I'd get that phone call from Tom Shepard. Paul, we can't meet the payroll next month. Can you help? And things like that. I remember there's one story. In 1995, we got the Grey Cup here, and we had to build a temporary facility for the press. And I think I got the idea. Somebody got the idea. It was an idea that was passed around, and to build a permanent facility, turn it into a club seating facility, and generate about $300,000 a year, which in those days, that'd be like more than $1 million a year today. And so we got this idea, but nobody had any money. The Riders didn't have any money. And we felt we could, get people to support it. So the first bank we went to, they were very enthusiastic locally, but, it went down to Toronto, and the guys down there without dark shades and burnt out eyes and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, they didn't have any confidence in the CFL as surviving, and so they wouldn't lend it. So the second bank, same thing, very enthusiastic. Third bank, same thing. Now we're running out of time because of this construction period. We're getting into now the end of June. And, the season's starting, and the Grey Cup's in November. And so, anyway, I just couldn't give up. Everybody around the table said, Paul, forget it. It's over. Forget it. So I went, Carol and I and the family, we have a place at the Lake of the Woods. I got out there, and I was sitting down Friday afternoon. It was about 3 o'clock Regina time. And I thought, I got to call one more bank. And I called the Royal Bank, and everybody knew the vice president there. Lo and behold, and I told him the whole story, he says, he said, I don't have to send a request like that to Toronto. I can make that decision right here. So he said, Paul, you get all that information down to me as soon as you can, and I'll get back to you by 5 o'clock today. And I said, really? Okay, great. I called Tom Shepard. Fortunately, he was available and ready at the phone. Tom gets down there, gives him all the information. And so at 5:05, I get a call back, and he says, Paul, I have to apologize. And I thought, this is a trouble. He said, I promised to call you back at 5 o'clock, and it's 5 after 5. And I said, it's okay, don't worry about it. So he said he would do it with conditions. We had to pre-sell. People needed to make 5-year commitments for the seats and different things. But anyway, we got it done. Tom had the contractor in there Saturday morning, and we ended up with a club seating facility on the east side and one on the west side, and we paid off the debt, created more revenue for the club, and it was a great story, but not well known. Tom and I did a number of things like that. Tom, of course, spearheaded the lottery for many years and used the radio assets to help make that work. It was fantastic. So I'm trying to think of another story. We did go to try to become a little more professional. And we did adopt, and I was very much in favor of that. I don't even know if it was my original idea or somebody else's, but Rob Pletch did the paperwork on it, and we adopted the Green Bay model. And the Green Bay model was a community-owned team, but they had shareholders like we have now. And it was running an operation like this, which had become a business, and it was becoming a big business. And you needed to have strict corporate structure to be able to run it properly. And so fortunately, we put that in place. We sold shares. We hired Jim Hobson, who became the first most talented CEO in the CFL. We did a great job. And all of a sudden, our team started to improve. We ended up selling merchandise. So of course, Jim, we hired professional people in finance and marketing and all the other positions that you normally have. And all of a sudden now we have, we sell more merchandise than all the other teams combined in the CFL. And the organization started making money, and we started winning. And so it really was a transformational change in our operations here. And many people, very talented people, put their shoulders to the grindstone. There was one thing that I remember this happening, and I picked it up really with a couple of other guys. There was an American owner in Calgary and one other place. And every year we struggled to increase the ticket prices. And it was partly because we still had that dark cloud from socialism in the 40s and 50s. And people were afraid to increase, people would walk away from buying the tickets. And so we got this idea about the facility fee. And like Calgary in particular, the facility fee was just $1 a ticket, but it paid for a screen. And I think we started out at about $2 a ticket. But it's now that facility fee that supports a $100 million loan for this stadium. And so that very concept, and there was absolutely no pushback. People were willing to pay that, but they weren't willing to pay $1 more for the ticket. So go figure. But those things were transformational changes in the history of our club and our financial viability. I just want to mention all of these leaders in the past were tremendous leaders. Many of them have passed away that were presidents of the club, contributed their own time. Many of them are still alive, and I've mentioned several of them. One person very close to me, though, over the years was Bruce Cowie. And Bruce passed away a few weeks ago. We had his funeral, I guess, about a week ago. And Bruce was absolutely dedicated to the riders, but he was dedicated to everything in the community. He was a guy that was just loved by everybody. Didn't matter whether you worked with him, for him, in association with him. He was just one of those guys that everybody really loved. And he had a great soul as well. He was just terrific. So Carol and I got to know them pretty well, and we traveled quite a bit. And I can tell you, we watched rider games from Moscow, from Beijing, from Mexico City. I remember the one we watched. We were in a stone castle in the island of Malta, where St. Paul shipwrecked on the island of Malta and took the opportunity to convert the locals to Christianity. Anyway, there was an old castle there, and it had been converted, but it was literally stone. I mean, it was a stone castle. And we managed to get internet, and we managed to watch the riders play. So it was a great story. And as you know, the riders are everywhere in the world. There's no place that you can't go. And I do remember when I was in the selling share mode, I sold shares all over the world. And there was one kind of funny incident. Well, a funny incident, a strange incident. We had the Grey Cup in Winnipeg, and Rick Waugh was the president of the Bank of Nova Scotia. They were a big sponsor. And he and I both went out to the washroom at the same time. And we both stood at the urinal side by side. Well, by the time he got out of there, he owned 4 shares, 2 for his kids and 1 for his wife. So, and he was very proud of it, too, notwithstanding his Winnipeg loyalty. I just can't mention enough stories or talk about, give you enough stories over the years, because there are very many, and they were continuous. There were so many people that were so dedicated to making this club viable and making it work. So I was proud to be associated with those people, because I learned early on that I may have ideas and I may be able to contribute my part, but I have lots of limitations, and I need other people to make anything happen. And so there were so many talented people that really made things happen, and I wouldn't be up here receiving this recognition if that wasn't really the case. And that's the same in business. And I'm not going to mention any names, because there's several of them are in this room, and whether they're partners or whether they worked with us or whether they worked for me, or nobody ever works for me. I work for them, because they're more talented than I am. I wanted to have one recognition that's the most important to me before I end these comments. And it's, I'm looking at her. And I have to tell you the story because it's a rider connection. In 1963, come on up, Carol. In 1963, Carol was Miss Saskatchewan Rough Rider. And that was kind of intriguing to me. And the Grey Cup was taking place in Vancouver. And I managed to make my way out there. Of course, I went to all the Grey Cups. And I managed to convince her to break curfew and come out one night to Trader Vic's. And anyway, I presented her with a diamond ring, and we were engaged. So it was pretty momentous. And I just wanted to recount this because I told this on the radio the other day, but it's true. There was a song on the radio by Jimmy Rogers. Some of you may remember it. And it was all about meeting this lovely woman and getting married because she had kisses sweeter than wine. Oh, she had kisses sweeter than wine. And then all of a sudden, Roseanne came along, and then Shannon, and then Matthew, and then January, and then Catherine, because she had kisses sweeter than wine. And then all of a sudden, 12 grandchildren popped along, and because she had kisses sweeter than wine.
And because she kept saying, will you have this dance for the rest of my life?
Exactly. So, in any case, it ends up that, and I say this with sincerity with regard to the riders, but more importantly with Carol and I and our relationship and our family. At the end of the day, I'd do it all again because she has kisses sweeter than wine. Thank you for this honor. I just want to say Murad is an icon in this province. He's been a major mover, as you know, but he founded this small company in the basement of his house in Davidson, and it's now a $1 billion company, and it's transformed agriculture in this province and around the world. And I really appreciate Murad and Michelle for coming and under these difficult circumstances. Thank you, Murad.
The understated line of the night. She was Miss Saskatchewan Rough Rider, and that was intriguing to me.
God, I hope I have a line that good at some point in my life. Our third inductee is Andy Fantuz, and he goes in the player category. Andy played 6 of his 12 seasons here in green after being selected by the Riders in the first round of the draft in 2006. Played in 3 Grey Cups for the green and white, winning one in 2007. If you please, Andy Fantuz.
Back home, back in Ontario, back in Saskatchewan. Keep watching. Let's go. Watch Fantuz. Foot race. Brandon Browner bring it down to the 16. Touchdown, Andy Fantuz.
I always liked Andy Fantuz as a technician, and that sounds a little clinical, but I just like the way he played the position. I like the way Chris Getzlaff ran pass patterns. I like the way Andy Fantuz caught the football. It might sound obvious to say that Andy Fantuz caught the football with his hands, but he did. He just plucked the ball out of the air. And he had these big hands that were just perfect for a receiver. It was almost like, you almost felt like he was catching a tennis ball sometimes with these big hands catching this football. But he did it so well as a technical receiver. Very seldom do you see the ball even touch the front of his jersey. It was always with the hands, always in front of him. And I just loved watching that. And he ran terrific pass patterns. Kent Austin just loved talking about Andy Fantuz and the way he just thought the game, how intellectually he could get himself open.
Hey Andy, Gerald Coach here. Just wanted to say a few words about you on this special night. You know, Andy, when I think back through the years of all the guys that I've coached, I still say, I tell everybody, you were without a doubt the best time and space receiver I ever coached. Yeah, you had great size and you had great hands, and that's not what made you great in my mind. What made you great was your ability to understand defense, the ability to get open, to know how to separate, a deep intuition about the game and a knowledge about defenses that allowed you to do things on the field that we couldn't coach. And I was always trying to decide. We were always trying to design plays to get you the football. I can remember many times we'd go through game planning sessions and we'd walk in there and put in a new play, and I'd look over at you and you'd just be smiling because you knew exactly what we were doing and you knew who it was designed for. One of the few players that could literally take a play off the whiteboard and go out on the field in the very first rep, do it perfectly. You were that guy. You're a great player, great teammate. As coaches, we get to coach really, really good players throughout our career, but very rarely do we get to coach the one special guy that just elevates the game, elevates our careers. Guys that you just really need to coach and quite frankly shouldn't be coaching. Guys that you just kind of roll the ball out there and try not to screw up. That's what you were, Andy. You're one of the rare ones. And congratulations on such an awesome honor. You deserve it. And just enjoy this night. Have fun and know that I love you, brother. See you, man.
A big congratulations to Andy Fantuz. I was there early on, from a rookie in his first few years in the league. I like to think that I took him under my wing and taught him some things. I was there when he scored his first touchdown, when he broke his leg, and when he led us to a championship in 2007. Lots of receiver nights when we're eating pasta and salad, and Andy was even there when my son was born in the hospital at Regina General. I got a picture of Andy when he was holding him in the hospital. Now, Andy would do his own thing. He'd wear crazy outfits, he'd poof his hair up, but you can only do those type of things when you have supreme confidence in yourself. And he could. You know, the guy came from the jump. He was a hard worker, a competitor. People respected him and people loved him, right? He was one of my greatest teammates. At this point, I just want to say the Plaza has gained a great representative for Saskatchewan Roughriders. And once again, a big congratulations to you guys.
That was for Eric Tillman. 2nd and 5. Joseph in the pocket, a crossing route. Van Toos reaching, grabs it, breaks a tackle, heading for the goal line. Touchdown, Saskatchewan!
It didn't hurt that he also played really well in big games. In the 2007 Grey Cup, he was named the most outstanding Canadian. He scored that memorable touchdown, lunging over the goal line. Not only was he a tremendous player, but you really noticed him in the games that were of the greatest magnitude. And I think that too contributes to the enduring affection for and recognition of Andy Fantuz.
The outstanding Canadian in this game, Andy Fantuz, the pride of Chatham, Ontario, the University of Western Ontario Mustang grad, and a Heck Crichton Trophy winner as the most outstanding player in the CIS.
This is crazy. I can't wait to get back there and celebrate and go Riders.
Andy, enjoy every single moment. You earned it.
Steve Armitage said Chatham, Ontario, but it feels like Saskatchewan to us. Andy Fantuz.
Wow. Makes me want to put the cleats back on watching that. What an amazing night and venue. I want to start off by thanking the foundation, everyone who helped put this together and was involved in putting the video this amazing weekend and this night, and especially everyone in attendance for the support of the Plaza, the foundation, and the great causes it supports, including the mental health of the children there. It's so nice to be back in Regina, my home away from home. It's been wonderful reminiscing about my years here over the past few months since I got the call, and to come here and see some of the faces that made my time here so special has been great and will be great over the next few days. So I'm very blessed and fortunate to be here and happy. I'd like to also congratulate the other inductees, the late great Patterson and Paul Hill, who we've already learned about, and their tremendous contributions to the team and the province. And Chris Getzlaff, who not only is an incredible player and teammate, but has become a lifelong friend. I've witnessed you touch many lives by giving back in the community through the years, and I'm very happy and proud of your success. I can remember the night before the 2006 draft when I was in Chatham and I got a call from Danny Barrett, and he told me that I was going to be their selection in the next day's draft. I had no idea the journey I was about to embark on, and the day after the draft, Amanda and I got a gift from a family friend, a watermelon. It was unusual at first, but it was our first taste of Rider Nation, no pun intended. But arriving in Regina and trying out for the team was nerve-wracking, and I didn't know what to expect. But I made some friends in my first few days of camp that are still close to me today. The football organization, the city of Regina, the province of Saskatchewan, and the worldwide Rider Nation really embraced me from day one. I had heard that playing here was a special thing, but my expectations were far exceeded. Being a small part of the team's turnaround, which we learned about there in the last video and Paul's speech, it brought the 2007 Grey Cup. It brought the Canadian Air Force, Fantuz Flakes, among many other things, but was, in my opinion, a very special era to be part of and to be part of a team. I'll never forget those magical nights at Taylor Field, the buzz in and around the city surrounding the team, all the community initiatives that we did with the other players and coaches around the province, and all the relationships that I was able to share those experiences with. Thank you to my teammates and my coaches. Thank you to the front office, the training staff, all the therapists outside of the team that helped me, and a special thank you to all the fans. I've been fortunate to have been able to travel around the world, and I always see a Rider flag flying proudly. Just to name a few: Mexico, Zanzibar Island in Africa, Belize, Philippines, Hong Kong, Thailand, Colombia. It's a true testament to this extraordinary culture and devotion of the fans to a team which is unparalleled in any sport, in any country. I'm joined here tonight by my beautiful wife, Amanda. My time in Saskatchewan was a bit challenging for us, being long distance. She was in med school and I was here playing. But with your support, we made it through and we made it here today. We now have a 3-year-old daughter, Abigail, and another one on the way in about, well, it could be tonight, but 5-6 weeks. You are my rock. I love you, and thank you. I count myself lucky to have been selected by Danny Barrett and Roy Shivers back in 2006, because my family and I have been able to be part of this special global community that can't really be understood unless you're in it. I'm honored and thankful to be a member of the Plaza of Honor and to forever be a part of Rider Nation. Thank you.
Every time you watch a TSN, Dave Naylor will do a hit from his house over his shoulder. Fantooz Flakes. He was cereal named after you. That's unbelievable. Our fourth inductee is Chris Getzlaf. He goes in the player category. Chris played 10 seasons in Saskatchewan after being drafted in the 5th round in 2007 by Hamilton. He was a part of 4 Grey Cup teams, earning victories in 2007 and 2013. Our video tribute to Chris Getzlaf.
Steps back and he's looking over the middle, has a man complete, wide open, and some. Drops the head down to the 50-yard line. Beautiful block, and he hits it down the sideline. Tipped home, but is brought out at the 42-yard line. Number 6, Chris Getzlaf with the reception. Here it comes. Durant gets it away. Chris Getzlaf, touchdown. There's the deep. Durant looking to Chris Getzlaf. Got it. Touchdown. And the Rough Riders get back in it. A 25-yard touchdown strike to Getzlaf. Nailed it! Phenomenal catch by Chris Getzlaf. Catches 45. Durant going to the end zone. Touchdown to Getzlaf.
Outstanding Canadian of the 2013 Grey Cup game, Saskatchewan's own Chris Getzlaf.
Chris Getzlaf is one of the few players who would divert my attention from where the football is on a play. Sometimes the football would end up in his hands and then I'd end up watching it, but I loved watching Chris Getzlaf run pass patterns. It was absolutely geometric. If you drew dotted lines on the field and said, Chris, run this pattern, that's what you would get. when he eventually ran it. It just was perfect. And with a head fake or a feint of the shoulders, Chris Getzlaf could shake a defender. And he had kind of legs that were a little rubbery, it seemed. You could really baffle defensive backs. He just had a way of running patterns and just agility with his hips and maneuverability with his legs that would enable him to get open with just the slightest little move. I loved watching his corner patterns. I thought they were an absolute thing of beauty. I thought the corner patterns that he ran were the quintessential corner patterns. And that's saying something when you consider that he played on the Rough Riders at the same time as Andy Fantuz, who ran that pattern so well. And Weston Dressler ran the corner pattern in collaboration generally with Darian Durant so well. But Chris Getzlaf, I just loved watching him run patterns. Even if he didn't get the ball, I thought I would get something out of that by watching him run the pattern.
Getzlaf, buddy, congratulations going in the Plaza of Honor. After a great career, I think we all knew this day was coming for you, so super excited for you and glad that day is here. I was really honored, privileged to have the opportunity to play with you for as long as we did. You're a great teammate, a guy that I got to know very well and became a great friend, a friendship that we'll have for the rest of our lives. So I think that's one of the greatest things about playing football is the friendships that we make along the way, and I really do appreciate the friendship that we have together. Over the years, man, you just had a great ability, a natural ability to find a way to get yourself open. You had your own unique style to the way you played the game. I think you always brought 110% effort, and as a teammate, that's all you can ask for from the guys next to you, is a guy that's willing to go to work and put everything on the line for his brothers next to him. So appreciate you as a teammate, bud. Really appreciate the days that we had together in the training room, in the weight room, the off seasons, getting ready and preparing every year. I think those are some of those memories that I carry with me more so than the big plays and the big games that you had, but just those times that we spent together working out, getting ready for every game were really something that I cherish. I think you helped me throughout those off seasons. You helped push myself. I think we helped push each other at times, but really always enjoyed beating you in a good game of ping pong after a good workout, even though you may have won a few along the way too, but some great battles and some great fun doing that. But Getz, congratulations again, man. You had a great career. You've done some amazing things. Love the fact that we had the opportunity to win a Grey Cup together in 2013, and that's just one of those memories that we'll always have and always be able to share together. Congratulations, bud.
You had an incredible career. I certainly won't be able to capture it all, but just as a guy that was fortunate enough to play beside you for so many years, not only did we become, best friends, but just a guy that I knew I could count on, thick or thin. You were always well prepared. You came to practice every day with a workman's-like mentality, and further to that, you were always there in the biggest moments. I think a lot of people remember a lot of the games against Calgary, but it seemed like when we needed you the most, that was really when you shone through. So, what an incredible experience we had together, and what a great honor to be a local guy from Regina, and to be, now etched in the history of one of the all-time greatest programs in Canadian sports. So, congratulations, Getty. Truly an honor to play with you and be here tonight to say congratulations and welcome you into an incredibly exclusive group. So enjoy yourself, and go Riders.
And here we are in 2021 talking about the amazing career of Chris Getzlaf. And that's an example that local kids can follow and say, hey, there's number 89. I'd like to do what he did. And I think that's special.
Please welcome to the Plaza of Honor, Chris Getzlaf.
Wow, these videos are fantastic. Hopefully I can get that close enough. There we are. Wow, what an incredible evening. Thank you so much to everybody here. Congratulations to all the other inductees. Well-deserved on everything. Murad, for being here on a day like this. After hearing that story, my condolences. So, thank you for the introduction. Weston and Rob, they were players that I got a chance to play with early on in my career, and I really value the friendship that we developed over those years. It's a special bond that we created, getting a chance to play and grow together for so many years with one organization. It's rare for that many players to enter into the league in a short period of time and be able to share the field for as long as we did and have a lot of success. Weston made the off seasons grueling, or made the off seasons a lot less grueling, being able to work out together every day in our weekly indoor golf matches. Rob, I always admired his work ethic that he brought to the field every single day. He brought the best out of everybody around him, and it was a pleasure living together for a short period of time and playing numerous rounds of golf throughout the seasons. Thanks to both of those for the introduction. I got to get this in place. There, that should be better. Thank you to the Plaza of Honor Committee, volunteers, and everyone working behind the scenes to make these few days very special for me and my family. Thank you to everyone in attendance tonight for supporting the event and raising money for a great cause, the Saskatchewan Rough Rider Foundation. This province is truly amazing when it comes to giving back to the community and supporting its local teams. Thank you to the best football fans in all of Canada, if not the world. Throughout the ups and downs, wins and losses, your unwavering support is amazing, and you make playing for this organization an absolute pleasure. I will never forget the home crowd for the 2013 Grey Cup and the celebration in the streets. It makes me very proud to attend games and see so many people still rocking my jersey long after I retired. The list of personal thank yous goes on, from coaches to teammates to equipment, training, video, support staff, and friends that I've met through the game of football. With the respect of time, I won't be able to properly thank them all, but know that I'm forever grateful for the impact you had on me and my career. Thank you to my dad, Steve, and mom, Susan. I grew up in a very competitive household that was inherited by you guys as athletic parents. You taught me the importance of teamwork, leadership, dedication, hard work, and coaching. It was how you raised Ryan and I that allowed us to excel at our respective careers. You gave us the opportunity to play any sport that we wanted and went over and above dedication, driving us to separate hockey practices as early as 5 a.m. and making sure we made it to school on time, and then juggling multiple sports in the evenings. Mom, heading the Queen City Regina Hockey Bingo Committee to help raise funds, money for fees, and Dad helping coach a few different teams. Aside from baseball, Ryan and I played aside from football, Ryan and I played hockey, baseball, soccer, basketball, volleyball. You allowed us to enjoy these sports without any pressure or scrutiny to focus on any one specifically. The only thing you were concerned with was us enjoying whatever game we were involved in. Your unwavering support, not just through sport, but through all aspects of my life, have made me the man I am today. Thank you for everything you have done to impact my life and career. Thank you to my brother Ryan for not only being my brother, but my best friend. I believe that we bring out the best in each other with our competitive nature and our love for numerous sports. He's always been someone that I can vent to when things aren't going well, and great to celebrate the good times with. Thank you to my one and only, my wife Tia, for your love and support and everything else you do and did to keep our house in order. Without your love, understanding, and sacrifices, I couldn't have lived out my dream for as long as I did. You are the best dog mom to the past, present, and future furballs in our lives. Thank you for celebrating the good times and being my rock in the tough times. Love you. Thank you to my numerous friends and extended family for following and supporting my career. A few of you guys here tonight. Lots of you had season tickets and were always there cheering me on. I will never forget jumping into the stands and getting a picture with several of you while holding the Outstanding Canadian Award after winning the 2013 Grey Cup. I was in the video, it was perfect. I got my first taste of football when I was 13 years old, trying out for the Pee Wee Football Wolverines as an overage because I was under 100 pounds. After quitting on day one, and then returning a couple days later, there was no looking back. My love for the game grew year over year through bantam, high school, junior, and university football in this city, and my passion never stopped throughout my entire professional career. It's a game that I would have played forever if a body would allow it, but I will continue to be a fan for as long as I'm on this earth. I know that I can look back and say that I left everything out on the field day in and day out. It's an absolute honor to enter the Plaza along so many legends before my time and witness several in the future. Thank you for making this Regina Boys dream come true.
Can we get a Fantus baby update? Is it on its way? If you need it, Wes, the commissioner, and I, we will throw blocks for you to get you out of here as fast as possible. I didn't even think I had to be worried about a baby coming until Andy brought it up. Oh my gosh. Stress on the MC right there. Okay. This year's SaskTel Plaza of Honor proceeds will go to the Saskatchewan Rough Rider Foundation to support mental wellness initiatives in Saskatchewan, as Murad had mentioned earlier on, for youth and children. $100,000 was raised tonight, thanks to you all being here and thanks to our tremendous sponsors. Absolutely. If you would, we have a video to teach us all more about the foundation and the support for mental wellness in our province.
Being an athlete and a dad, try to navigate a pandemic. It's been super tough, not only football-wise for myself, not being able to be on the field, not being able to do what I love to do, but try to imagine that with a kid going into kindergarten. I really have a struggle with that at times as she tries to navigate through of what to do, how to feel out, just being herself. And sometimes when you see that in a child, it really adds to yourself and what's going on in your life. As an athlete, I think the more we open up about how we feel, yes, we are role models. Yes, the Saskatchewan Rough Riders give us a platform, but it also lets kids know that we're human too. And what they're going through, there's always a way to find someone to talk to.
I'm Jasmine Rosette, and I go to Obodes Catholic High School. Mental health is everything to me. It's important for people my age because it's something we go through every single day, and there's a lot of problems with mental illnesses, especially for the youth in our community and in the world.
For our youth and children in Saskatchewan, mental wellness and mental health has escalated, and the need for support has gotten quite a bit larger over the last particularly year and a half. There's a lot of data out there that tells us that kids are in more need of supports than ever before. So the Saskatchewan Rough Rider Foundation, with the support of our board of directors and of course Rider Nation and the Saskatchewan Rough Rider Football Club, really wants to help kids and make a difference in our community in kids and youth mental health and wellness. We have the opportunity over the next 3 to 4 years to be able to really help kids recover from this pandemic, not physically and not through their health, but definitely mentally. Any kind of support we can financially and with our voice through Rider Nation is certainly going to help kids in our province.
You know, the club's extremely proud of everything we do in the community. We really want to make an impact coming out of COVID-19, and I think one area we quickly gravitated towards was mental health for kids. I think with us getting involved and potentially raising the profile through our players, you know, we'll be able to move that needle, and we'll be able to make an impact to kids in Saskatchewan in this area. Mental wellness is such an important topic nowadays, especially coming out of the pandemic. And I really think throwing the weight of the foundation and the football club and our players behind it, we can make a meaningful impact.
Well, you know, mental health has been a very important issue to our family, primarily because it affects so many people and yet seems to fly under the radar so much. We're privileged to be able to help out financially and honored to be able to kind of be on the Game Changers campaign and start to address the issue that's very important to our community. It's named Game Changers for a reason. And, you know, there is a lot we need to do, and we can't do it on our own. We really want people to just have a look at getting engaged and see if they can help. We want to raise $1 million, and we want to do it in a fairly short time frame because we know the foundation has a lot of good programming. We know there's a lot of players that want to be engaged and continue to be engaged activities. So we want to raise $1 million, do it fairly quickly, and start having an impact immediately.
What I would say to the youth is find time for yourself. We've survived 100% of our worst days, and you're doing great. In saying that, find something that really drives your passion. When we talk about, you know, mental health and awareness and what can we do, reach out to someone. Never give up on, you know, yourself, but more importantly, be there for someone else. That's the best thing that we can do, is be open and be honest with each other, and always be open to learning new things about each other. It's just about being there for each other.
Thank you to Cindy Fuchs and the Saskatchewan Roughrider Foundation for a tremendous, tremendous evening. As a special gift to honor this evening and our partnership with Indigenous peoples, we've chosen a commemorative feather, which is created specifically for tonight's event by an Indigenous locally owned business, Pro Metals. Please be sure to pick up your special gift on your way out. That is it for tonight's program. Once again, congratulations to our newest 4 members of the Plaza of Honor, and thank you for joining us to celebrate them all. I'm told your coats have been moved to the 3rd floor exit hallway. I'm also told there's a football game on Saturday in which we will continue this celebration and smash the Stampeders, because that one hurt. Have a safe drive home. Join us for football on Saturday, and go Riders.
If you have program ideas that you'd like to see on Max TV Local, email us at max.local@sasktel.com.